top, that final punch at the top, I mean, you can't, I mean, again, I rode it today just to kind of double check, just to get a feel for it, to try and riding nowhere near as strongly as these riders, of course. But that last kicker, that is where this race could detonate. The field already, Hannah, has been thinned down on the lowest slopes of the Epic KOM. But just talk about, before we get there, what to expect for the people watching here today. It is brutal, isn't it? It's so steep. Just over a K at 13.7%.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the main focus, you look at it and you look at the Epic KOM and you think, okay, it's a second cat climb, 9.4 kilometers with an average of 3.9%. You think, okay, that's fine. And then when you get to the top, you cannot rest. You cannot take the focus, away from the race. You need to keep pushing on that downhill. Try and take as much speed as possible into the radio tower climb, because it really is brutal. And it can catch you out. You might find yourself in a really good position. And if you're not, paying attention or aware of what's to come, and if you've not done your homework beforehand, if it catches you out, you're probably not going to get back on, because it's not long from the top of the radio tower climb to the finish then. And with a gradient of 13.7%, it really is a leg snapper.
It definitely is. Still a reasonably big group here, as we look at, there's some predictions here for the stage favourites. FDJ, Borgli, Lippert from Sunweb there. Balsamo from Valcar. Well, there we go. There's a couple of predictions. Ones to watch. We shall soon find out as the stage unfolds. Actually, as we're still quite early on, we've still got 21 Ks to go. A lot of it uphill, Hannah. What rider for you really does stand out amongst the favourites today? Because we've got some very, very good climbers here today.
Yeah, we've got an absolutely stacked field. World champions again, like we had yesterday. We've got former world champion Anna van der Breggen taking to the start. Tatiana Gadurzo as well from Italy. But I have to say, a rider that stands out to me, there's a couple of riders that are sort of, their names are just shining. Cecilia Uttrup Ludwig is one of the names. Ella Harris, she's very experienced on Zwift, of course, being a Zwift Academy winner, but also very, very good in real life racing as well on the climbs. But Lauren Stevens is a rider that could be a bit of an outsider. We know she's good on Zwift, and she's more of a time trialist. But I think, with her power and those sort of like, if she's able to attack those punchy climbs as well, could do quite well. Who's your pick for today, Matt?
That's I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Well, I haven't really thought about. Well, I have thought about it. I've had a look. I mean, it's difficult to pick. I'm going to go for Cecilia Uttrup Ludwig, because she's at or near the head of affairs. She's not showed herself. She's not ridden on the front. As we look at Joss Loudon, again another one of the Drops teams. The full lineup for Drops riding in this stage 2. Joss Loudon on your screen there. Anna Christian is also in the mix. We've already seen the yellow jersey wear Elise Olsen. She's just struggling to stay in contact at the moment. And rounding out the 4 riders for Drop Cycling is Finja Smeekels. They've got a very, very good squad, and they always do tend to punch above their weight, always putting out very, very good performances. And that's, I think, a lot's to be said for their owner and their team manager, Bob Varney. And he must have been absolutely delighted when April Tacey took that victory yesterday. Must have made their year. It's been a difficult year, well, for the whole world. It's been a difficult year for the cycling industry. But for one of the smaller teams, in a showcase event like this, that must have tasted very, very sweet indeed. But I tell you what, it's not going to taste as sweet soon, because this climb is going to get worse and worse, and the field is starting to thin down now. Still 20 kilometers to go, 9 Ks under the wheels, and in this group now, Hannah, we're starting to see some of the real favourites, aren't we?
Yeah, we certainly are. Some of the riders that we're used to seeing in Zwift racing, Krista Dobell-Hickok of the rally cycling. They've got Zach Bell as their sports director, so he's very, very good tactically as a former rider. We've also got Erica McNaldy, as we've spoken about before. Joss Loudon is up there as well. I think another outsider for me is also Erica. I think if she just can get her tactics right. We saw yesterday she kept going a little bit early in the Queen of the Mountains. If she can make her timing right and kind of save as much energy using the draft in Zwift, in the gamification side of things, another rider that could really pack a punch today.
Well, definitely. But it's worth talking about the drafting in Zwift. It is a little bit different than the riding in real life, but for this virtual Tour de France, any of you who are familiar with the platform, there is a benefit to sitting on the wheel in Zwift. You do get a bit of rest. It's about a 20 to 30% saving, but for this virtual Tour de France, because it's being ridden by pros who primarily ride in real life out on the open road. The engineers at Zwift have just tweaked a little bit with the algorithm to make it just a little bit more like riding in real life, so it's more familiar to the riders. Because let's face it, a lot of the riders here have raced on Zwift a lot, but there's a few who will be experiencing it for the very, very first time. So they've had a little bit of a tweak, so it does feel just that little bit more like riding in real life. But one thing that remains the same, if you do drop off the wheel when you're moving quickly on Zwift, out of the slipstream of the bunch, off the slipstream of another rider in front, it is very, very difficult to get back in contact, and that cannot be understated. So the more that you ride on Zwift, the more you get familiar with the way it works, the way the slipstreaming works especially, and the way you manage your own kind of effort is very, very important. As I say, the riders, no real attacks here at the moment, Hannah. I get the feeling that these riders have clearly done the recon. They know what's to come. It's as if they're holding a little bit back, keeping a nice sweet spot tempo, but holding a little bit back because they know what's to come with this radio tower climb.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I think...
Sorry, Hannah, we've just got a little picture. We've got a bit of picture-in-picture there. That's the L'Etape de Tour de France Virtuel. Now, you can ride it. Anybody who's on Zwift can actually ride the Tour de France, the virtual Tour de France or the Tour de l'Etape. I jumped on that this morning, so head over to zwift.com/events or use your companion app, and you can ride the course that these riders have ridden today. And new courses as this race unfolds. We've got stages 3 and 4 next weekend, and 5 and 6 the weekend after, and they are going to be in the brand new world of France. So make sure you do enter some of these events as they come online. So perhaps this has inspired you a little bit. Once you've had your cup of tea, you've had your refreshments and watched the racing on Zwift today, you can pop on and ride the virtual L'Etape yourself. Please do get involved. It is a lot of fun, and you win a nice jersey as well. So we have 10.4 Ks under the wheels. This is stage 2. A reminder a little bit about the way this works from a team perspective. The yellow jersey goes to the team whose riders have amassed the most points at the finish line. Not working it out on time like we do in real life. It's all about points. 50 points to the first rider that crossed the line. 1 point for the rider in 25th position. So the more riders you get higher up the field, the more points you can accumulate. And this is on a rolling basis all the way through to Paris on stage 6. And the team in pole position at the moment are Team Drops from the United Kingdom. Really riding well. Team Tipco are in 2nd position, but only 1 point behind. So it's very, very finely balanced at the top, isn't it, Anna?
Yeah, it is. It's so close in the points, isn't it? And but with Elise Olsen just being distance on this climb, does mean that Drops will lose out on a lot of points at the finish. We've still got a few of the riders from Tipco up there. Lauren Stevens, Sarah Gigante. Kristen Faulkner was very active yesterday. She's still in this group, and this group really has whittled down. Only 18 riders left in this front group now. A couple of riders just off the back. Katie Hall, notably, and Anna Henderson, only 1 second off the back. They'll need to try and dig deep to get back into the wheels and get the draft benefit. So we see 8% of gradient now. Really is kicking up.
It certainly is. This is that section through the tunnels there was one of the steepest parts of this particular part of the climb. The average gradient, again, only 4%, because now we're heading into a section that I like to call the rollers. There's actually a couple of opportunities to rest here, or a little bit. You can just see the riders picking up a little bit of speed here. 41 Ks an hour, 50 Ks an hour, and there's a series of rolling sections before the road kicks up again, and it won't be too long before we can actually see the looming radio tower. Now that comes in about 1,500 meters time, but it's still a sizable group. All of the big names that you'd expect are in the mix. Ella Harris is there, Kirsten Faulkner, as you mentioned. We've got Heidi Francis there, Katie Hall, Erica Magnaldi on the screen there, looking pretty comfortable at the moment, but I do think that we're going to see some fireworks once we hit that climb. Here's another little one of these kickers. This is a section of road, although there are opportunities to rest on it, you still need to lean on the power. This is another little nasty steep section. It is like a roller coaster, this particular bit of the climb, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And it is, you do have the opportunity to take the gas off and just freewheel on those downhill sections. But as you say, you need to make sure that you're aware, you're attentive to when these little rollers and the kickers come up. It's kind of, attack the punchy climbs, I would say, just to get yourself rolling over them. And as you see now, the next roller coaster is going back down. Another opportunity just to get a bit of recuperation. See Ella Harris again on screen there. You just see the difference in cadence, so it's constantly up and down. pushing those
It's
big
it's making me
gears.
feel a little bit. It's making me feel a little bit seasick. Sort of rolling up and down. Ella Harris there, tapping away that rhythm. You know, in the middle of the night, fair play. And this is the wonderful thing about riding on Zwift. All of these riders, and the whole, when you look at this whole operation, I mean, it really is a celebration. Coming together of the Zwift virtual platform, the Tour de France, the iconic Tour de France, the biggest sporting event in the world in these very difficult times. And logistically, it's been such a challenge to pull this together. But thanks so much for all of your really positive feedback about what we're doing. It is an absolute pleasure to be involved. But when you think about it, we're all working remotely here. All of these riders are at their own homes. A couple of the teams are on training camps, but the Zwift platform and Tour de France have brought this together for a celebration of what we normally do see in July. And we've seen some great racing so far, and still a long way to go in this inaugural virtual Tour de France. There is the shot of Ella Harris, and this group has whittled down. There are about 15 riders in there. Lauren Stevens is there in the mix, Sarah Gigante, all riding at about 4 watts a kilo. So this isn't easy at all, but it is a pace that they can definitely manage. But it won't be long now before we actually swing a left onto the climb. There's 2 ways up this climb, actually. You can come in the other direction. That is where they'll be descending. So this is a way that they will be familiar with. All of these riders will have done the recon and their homework. And importantly as well, and we've not touched on this yet, Hannah, they'll be communicating as well. All of these teams will be speaking on Discord or WhatsApp. They'll have each other in their ears as well as their managers, because that's so crucial, isn't it?
Yeah, they will. So, their sports directors have the opportunity to almost be in the virtual team car. And, they can be watching what the riders are doing, see inside the race real time, and, give the riders a little bit of feedback. You might be saying that this person who you need to try and beat or get some points on, this rider on this team, sort of give them inside tactics as you would in the real life. So it's no different, but it also means that riders amongst themselves can communicate, as you said, like via Discord or WhatsApp or other communication methods. And just to speak about the tactics on the road, I mean, it's like in real life. You can go into a race with your game plan, your tactics, but things do change whilst you're on the road as well. So it's been able to be change the plan if it needs to, between the riders and the sports director.
That's it. The dynamic management, decision making out on the road and in real life. Well, here we go. A couple of splits happening now. McNaldy again. She was so aggressive. Yes, he's decided to press on a little bit. She hasn't gone too early here, but the bunch here, or what's left of the bunch, only about 15 riders left in contention this in stage 2. It's stringing out. They'll be swinging a left very shortly, heading up to the radio tower. And again, here's the stats. I'm going to remind you again because it is absolutely brutal. 1.1 kilometres, it's about 0.7 of a mile at 13.7%. It is very difficult indeed. This is the epic KOM. They're just going to roll across the banner now. I think a couple of the riders have maybe gone a little bit too early. Cecile Lugrid and McNaldy there putting out some big power before this left-hand turn. And great to see Joss Loudon there as well. She's riding exceptionally well for Team Drop. She's going to score some points too. And there we go. They've just crossed the Queen of the Mountains there, but it is not over. There's a little bit of respite. There's about 250 metres of false flat to downhill, and then they will commence the radio tower climb. But look at the face there of McNaldy for the first time, Hannah, showing some distress.
Yeah, this is incredible. Just we've got a little 3 riders split now with Joss Loudon, Cecilia Uttrup-Ludwig and Erica McNaldy. But this is the first time that McNaldy started to rock and roll. You can see the pain on her face. They have a little bit more of a descent, a little bit of recovery before they need to kick up onto this radio tower climb. And this is really where the legs start to scream. You can see a McNaldy pushing up the gears there, out the saddle. And now we've started to form a 4-rider breakaway. Ella Harris is the other rider that has joined there for Canyon SRAM. She's got the white jersey on her shoulders to denote the young rider.
Oh, this is
going to be a screamer to the top.
It certainly is. You can just see this is the action replay of the points on offer at the epic QOM, sponsored by E. Leclerc, the big famous supermarket chain. Look at the crowd going absolutely wild at the side of the road there. Some of them don't think they have enough clothes on because it is a bit colder this high up. Of course, it drops about a degree for every 100 metres of altitude, so maybe they need to get some parkas on. But nonetheless, they keep themselves warm by cheering on these riders. And look at this. Look at the side shot here of McNaldy. Look at the gradient. It is absolutely brutal. But glued to the back wheel of the Italian is the young rider from Denmark, Cecile Uttrup Ludwig. one of the most likeable riders in world cycling, stuck to the back wheel of the Italian like glue as we look at the face of Magnaldi once more.
It's
Well,
great seeing
this is absolutely brutal, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. It's great seeing these in-race shots, just showing, you know, how steep the gradient really is. And just look at the effort now from Magnaldi. This is really starting to hurt.
It certainly is. The gaps are starting to open now. Magnaldi still refuses to leave that first position and concentrating on sitting in her slipstream. Well, the little bit of slipstream that there is at these sorts of speeds on this sort of gradient. Well, there's a confirmation of the Queen of the Mountains. Magnaldi took maximum points ahead of Josh Loudon. That'll keep drops in a good position in the Queen of the Mountains competition. No more climbs today. And Cecile Uttrup Ludwig of FDJ Nouvelle Aquitaine Futuroscope, to give the team their full name, was in third position there. And look at the gradient there, 12% you can see on the right hand side. We have just under 15 Ks to go. We're just on half distance of this stage 2 of the first ever virtual Tour de France, and we have an elite group of riders moving clear. Look at this, Josh Loudon has got herself back in the mix. This is wonderful riding, and it looks like Cecile Uttrup Ludwig is now trying to split things as we head towards the top of the climb.
Yeah, Roy Ackers has got back in contention as well, and Lauren Stevens of Team Tibco Silicon Valley Bank. But Cecilia Uttrup Ludwig pushing down the power now, starting to gap Erica Magnaldi. She's got 1 second on the Italian rider. Kristen Faulkner also up there for Team Tibco as well. So really starting to see these splits, and just look at the top 10, the timings between the top 10 of Ludwig to Ellen van Dijk, 24 seconds. I don't see that these, any big group is going to come back together as we start to go towards the top of the Radio Tower climb now.
Indeed. Look at that. The first time we've seen Cecilia Ludwig. Is she wearing sunglasses indoors? Amazing scenes here. Or is that a visor? I'm not too sure. But Ludwig, look at the power there. 323 watts. Distancing the Italian. But the Italian hasn't certainly given up. She's riding her own game here. And at these sorts of gradients, at this sort of power, you cannot push yourself into the red because you'll capitulate and blow and lose a lot more time. So Magnaldi's certainly not panicking, and the gap isn't big enough, I don't think, for Ludwig to go away just yet. So Magnaldi riding a very controlled but very, very difficult race here. But Uttrup Ludwig absolutely nailing the top of this climb, and mercifully they approach the top. They'll then do a little bit of a loop before descending back down the way they come. But some big splits here, as you said before, Hannah. Magnaldi's a second behind. Then we have Faulkner at 8 seconds. Ella Harris now at 13 seconds. Gigante, Lauren Stevens at 16 seconds. This, as we predicted, has absolutely split to bits on one of the hardest climbs on Zwift.
Well, I just love that you can see the virtual visual and in real life. Just look at the pain on Cecilia Uttrup Ludwig. This really is starting to hurt now. The lactate is building up in the legs. And just look at the different riding styles. Uttrup Ludwig is opting to push a much, much bigger gear out the saddle. Magnaldi opting for a much higher cadence in the saddle. Got that focused look on her face as they start to crest the top of the Radio Tower climb. They'll be glad that one's over. But the pair of them do need to get as much time as possible on the chasers. They have a few good sprinters or riders who are better sprinters than them going into the finish, so they need to try and get as much time as possible.
They certainly do. I think they're working together pretty well here. Magnaldi now has taken a turn on the front. A really good observation there, Hannah, about the different kind of riding styles. You can just see Cecile Uttrup Ludwig just knocking it back, actually freewheeling. Now, just a reminder for anybody who says, well, what, they can't freewheel in the virtual world. Well, yes, they can. If they freewheel below a certain gradient, and they approach the speed of 57 kilometers an hour, they adopt what's called a super tuck. And there we go, Magnaldi and Cecile Uttrup Ludwig now in super tuck mode, and that will afford themselves a little bit of respite on this brutally steep section. So 30 seconds of rest after the kind of effort that they put in will be very, very welcome indeed. You can just see the snow swirling around. The temperature will be rising for the riders going downhill, and the temperature dropping for the riders going uphill. That is the devastation that has been caused by this brutally hard stage 2 of the virtual Tour de France. So we have 2 leaders out in front. There is a reminder of the overall classification for the Queen of the Mountains, should I say. Drops with 20 and Cerizet WNT with 17. So that is how it will stay. So drop cycling will definitely still be in one, leading one classification as we head into stage 3. They'll be very, very pleased with that. But more importantly, we have 2 riders, Hannah, out in front, looking good.
Yeah, they're looking very, very comfortable here, working well together, taking turns on the front. You just saw the speeds that they touched on the first part of the descent, 94 kilometers per hour. Erica Rinaldi there, you can just see that she's freewheeling now into that super tuck. Her heart rate, just look at her heart rate starting to come down now as she can get a little bit of respite and recovery. It was just above 180 beats per minute, going down into 179. But just look at the focus on her face, Matt.
I know, you could just see a teammate having to still pedal. Almost cruel that Magnaldi was freewheeling with his teammate still clearly on that climb. But this is another one of these rollers. The descent, although there are a lot of opportunities to get into that super tuck, there's some really nasty kickers as well, where you really have to lean on the bike, put a bit of torque through the pedals to maintain that speed, keep that momentum going, because they cannot ease up, because Faulkner is only 7 seconds behind. Then we've got Just Loudon at 18 seconds, along with Gigante and Stevens, and then we have a big gap to Ella Harris at 28 seconds, and then almost a minute to Nelson and Ellen Van Dijk. So this field has absolutely detonated, but I would say that the riders in fourth to 7th, if they get themselves together, Hannah, could still come back if they keep working as a group.
Yeah, if they can just get themselves organised and, sort of take turns on the front as you would do in real life racing. Kristen Faulkner kind of left a little bit in no man's land. She's pulling the gap down though to just under 6 seconds. It's going to be a big ask though from the 27-year-old from the USA, as we can get a little glimpse of her now. She's chasing down Magnaldi and Ludwig.
Oh, she's clearly riding very, very well. I mean, team at Tipco at Silicon Valley Bank have ridden so well. And I mean, when you look at the, I think this ride in particular by the American rider Kristen Faulkner, to put it into perspective, she was second yesterday on what was a stage for the punchers and the sprinters. So she clearly is a very, very complete all-rounder. She can ride well, or she clearly knows how to ride on the platform. But the fact that she can sprint and climb, she is going to be very, very dangerous. If she gets back into contention and just sits in the wheels a bit, you'd think that she'd have the better finish out of the 2 sort of more pure climbers out in front.
Yeah, definitely. Just taking on some nutrition there, just trying to refuel the body before she goes into the final part of the race with 9.8 kilometers to go. But as you say, Matt, I think, she's a bit more of an all-rounder rider. And if she does get into a contention with Magnaldi and Ludwig, I think she would have the upper amount of power on them for the sprint finish. But Magnaldi and Ludwig still working.
Well, look at this though, the gap has come down.
Tuck.
Yeah, the gap has come down. Sorry about that, Hannah. I was just looking at the gap. It was 7 seconds and now it's 2, but there's also another couple of riders in the mix because Lawrence Stevens and Gigante and Loudon aren't too far behind. They're only 8 seconds adrift, but Faulkner is going to get back in contact here. Great riding by the American, 27 years of age. It's her first year with Team Tipco, if I can get my words out. I'm so excited. I can't get my words out. This is absolutely fantastic stuff, and it looks as if she has finally made contact here. Will she go straight over the top, or will she just sit in the wheels? And what we haven't talked about, because the racing's been so good yet, Hannah, is the use of power-ups, because riders would have been awarded a power-up going through the Queen of the Mountains. They will get another one, I believe, when we go through the sprint arch, and that could be absolutely crucial when we go into the finish, because ideally they're going to want the aero boost, aren't they? It's the power-up that makes you more aerodynamic for 15 seconds, which is the power-up that everybody wants coming into a sprint.
Yeah, you certainly do. And if this was me in the race now and I had an aero power-up, I wouldn't be using it for the intermediate sprint. I'd be saving it for that finish line. Of course, if you have a different power-up, either the Feather Lightweight or the Draft Boost, which is the little van logo, I would try and use it now to your advantage and hope that when you go through that sprint arch, you would get an aero power-up. We just saw one of the riders using the invisibility ghost. Makes you invisible to other riders for 10 seconds, and it's only event only, so some of these riders, if you're new to Zwift, might not have ever had the opportunity to use the invisibility power-up. So great to see that being used there.
Yeah, you're quite right. Again, it's one of my favourite ones. We have seen it being used to good effect with riders attacking and using it in a bunch sprint and a couple of races I've seen. But as you say, if you've not experienced it before, I think the thing is, when there's only 3 riders in the group, attacking using invisibility when there's only 3 of them, it doesn't take a scientist or an expert mathematician to work out which rider has attacked. So probably a good idea to get rid of that power up, because they should be getting a new power up when they go through the sprint, and that comes with only 2 kilometers to go. But I have a feeling these riders are going to be concentrating on the finish. They won't be overly bothered, I don't think, about the points classification as we look at Cecile Uttrup Ludwig getting that opportunity for a little bit of rest. It is, I can confirm, she is wearing sunglasses indoors, and I tell you what though, they're giving her superpowers at the moment. She's absolutely flying.
Yeah, she certainly is. She looks really in stealth mode, doesn't she? Really focused and ready to fight for the victory on stage 2 of the virtual Tour de France on Zwift here. She's looking very comfortable, a little bit of a smile there. I think she knows she's in a good position. They still have 12 seconds to the chasers.
Yeah, we could just hear, they just went over that boardwalk there, over that little bridge, the kind of a jetty, well, a bridge rather than a jetty, should I say. You could just hear the rattling of the wooden boards underneath. 6.1 kilometers to go now for our 3 leaders. Here's a reminder, leading at the moment for FDJ is Cecile Uttrup Ludwig of Denmark. Also in the mix as well is Magnaldi, Erika Magnaldi of Cerazet WNT Pro Cycling Team, and the rider in 3rd position who had to chase desperately to get across the gap was yesterday's 2nd place finisher, Faulkner of Team Tibco Silicon Valley. And for me, she is very, very dangerous indeed, and it looks as if they're going to be joined. Well, this is the group just behind, should I say. This is the chasing group at 9 seconds with Loudon, Rujakers, Gigante and Jess Loudon. So it's still not over, still with just under 6Ks to go. Nobody can sit up here because the win is still on the line here, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. Interesting, though, that we have Kristen Faulkner of Tibco Silicon Valley Bank in the front group. She has 2 teammates in this chasing group with Sarah Gigante and Lauren Stevens. So you can just see they're not actually taking a turn here. They're just leaving all the work to Paulina Rojakers and Jocelyn Loudon. So both riders being very, very smart and tactical to push Rojakers and Loudon to doing all the work to chase the leaders. So great tactics here from Tibco.
No, you're spot on there, Hannah. Well spotted. That is a great bit of observation there. But of course, what that also gives, it basically at the moment, it is advantage Team Tibco Silicon Valley, because really Kristen Faulkner can say to the 2 riders that she's with, I don't need to work. She could say to Magnaldi and Cecile Uttrup Ludwig, I don't need to work either. I've got 2 riders behind. So it's almost like a checkmate situation. And in terms of the amount of points they will amass at the moment, if things stay the same, it could put them into the virtual yellow jersey as Jess Loudon drops, attacks the group behind, fed up of the discord behind, fed up of not working. Jocelyn Loudon now goes on the offensive in that polka dot jersey, but she's immediately brought back to heel by Lauren Stevens. This is great racing.
This is fantastic. Just look at the effort there from Stevens. Saw that Loudon was putting down the power. She didn't want to give her any room or space whatsoever. Having none of that, bringing back the 32-year-old from drops. British rider. Rojakers just found herself in a little bit of being distanced now from that group, and look at the damage it's done to this chasing group behind. There's no cohesion anymore. Stevens in pursuit of the leaders now, only 6 seconds behind Magnaldi, Ludwig and Faulkner, with 4.5 kilometers to go. Well,
this race is balancing on a knife edge. Stage 2 of the virtual Tour de France. It is the Watopia mountain route, 29.5 hilly kilometers. They've already climbed 680 metres of elevation in total. And the group out in front, they're about to be joined by Joss Loudon. There it is. It's all coming together in the last 4 kilometres of stage 2. Still all to play for, but the team with the upper hand, without a shadow of a doubt, is Team Tibco Valley. Lauren Stevens, Sarah Gigante, Kristen Faulkner, all in this front group at the moment. They have ridden superbly. And we've got a little bit of a climb to come as well. It's not all flat to the run in here, is it? We've got that intermediate sprint. Then there's a nasty little kicker that takes us into the S's before that drag to the line.
Yeah, certainly is. And even just this little section of road, it's starting to drag up. And, if your legs are already, full of lactate and they're burning, your lungs are burning, it really does make it hard. As we start to see some of the average watts, Magnaldi there with the highest average watts on the climb, the epic KOM with 5.3 watts per kilogram. I mean, that really is sensational. Olsen, though, with the yellow jersey, also up there with just over 4.
Well, now we have some great stats there. It just shows how hard these riders are working and the damage that putting that sort of power out has on a peloton, because we have 7 riders in front. These 7 riders now, unless Ella Harris in 8th position from Canyon SRAM can do something very, very special, these riders will be battling out for the stage win. And the team with the upper hand, as I said a few times, is Team Tipco. They will be the team that will move into the virtual Maillot Jaune after stage 2. But the big question is who will take the stage win, because now the other riders, now the flip side of having numerical dominance in the front group is that the other riders will look to you to do the pacemaking.
Yeah, they certainly will. But what it does mean that, will we start to see some riders attacking from Tipco? It will force the rider Pauline Rayakas from CCC Liv, Cecilie Uttrup Ludwig from FDJ, and Erica Rinaldi from Sarah Tizit WNT Pro Cycling to chase. Then it means that they can counter-attack and just keep 1-2ing each other all the way to the finish. And don't forget, we've got this sprint coming up very, very shortly. So how is that going to play effect?
And certainly is. Well, here is the sprint coming up. And they have battled it out. Looks like Cecilia Ludwig is going to take that one. Again, that will affect the green jersey competition. And remember, the team jersey competition, or the team classification, should I say, another very, very important classification within this race, because it's the most accumulated points across all of the classifications. And there she is again, the rider from Denmark, always smiling, but looking, well, the most serious I've ever seen her. She's stamping on the pedals now. Looks like Cecile Uttrup Ludwig is making a move. This is the climb we talked about. She's dropping a burrito as well. The burrito means she's undraftable for 10 seconds. That's the power up she's had. That's what she's used. Great move here, Hannah.
Yeah, this is a fantastic move. Just look at the effort being put out by Cecilie Uttrup Ludwig. 8.7 watts per kilo right now. She's Erica Rinaldi's the rider chasing her. Can she get on terms? The 2 riders have put in a second into the chasing the riders behind them. So left Kristen Faulkner of Tipco Silicon Valley Bank to chase. And that little move from the Danish rider has come to nothing, Matt.
It certainly has. It was a good attack, though, and there we go. That was the sprint before. That was the only intermediate sprint of the day. Ludwig took that from Loudon, from Bagnaldo, from Rujakers, from Gigante. But with 1.7 Ks to go, there is 5 riders in the middle. I think we've actually lost Gigante and Rujakers. They've got a lot of work to do. They're at 3 and 4 seconds. And another attack straight over the top from Joss Loudon. Drops are having a superb virtual Tour de France on the offensive here. Joss Loudon is immediately brought to heel, though. 1,500 metres to go. They're now in the S's, and there's another move over the top. McNaldy, I think, is now attacked. Faulkner goes too. Oh, this is absolutely thrilling stuff. This is this nasty little roller coaster section. Difficult to find your rhythm. You've got to really be attentive as we head towards the last kilometre here, Hannah.
Yeah, well, just look how smooth and focused that Kristen Faulkner is. She doesn't look phased at all. A heart rate of 170 beats per minute, pushing 470 watts as you start to see the Flamme Rouge now. It's McNaldy leading, and it's Kristen Faulkner and Joss Loudon who are able to make use of the draft of McNaldy. Just 3 riders now with a slight gap as Stevens gets back in touch.
Well, Stevens has just got back on. Ludwig also there. Cecilia Ludwig just at the back now. And now while they're going to open the door by easing off here, we're into the finishing straight. This is around, as you can see, 700 metres to go. It's pretty much, there's a little bit of a left-hand curve, a wonderful heli shot here. We're coming into the closing metres of stage 2 of the virtual Tour de France. 29.5 Ks over some mountainous terrain on Watopia, and we have 5 riders out in front. McNaldy, Loudon, Faulkner, Stevens, and Cecile Uttrup Ludwig, with Rujakers and Gigante breathing down their neck. But I think with only 400 metres to go, it's going to be one of these 5 riders who has got the ideal power-up, who has got the punch left to take victory here. It's a slight drag to the line. 300 metres to go now. Look at this. McNaldy digs deep. Absolutely flying here. Look at the power that's been dropped. Joss Loudon is in the lead, though. It is Joss Loudon. Loudon from McNaldy. Ludwig in third. Who's going to take this one? It looks like it's Loudon. Loudon just in front. Or is it Stevens? We'll just get confirmation of that. I think it was Lawrence Stevens who took it on the line for a team at Tipco Silicon Valley Bank. An absolutely superb finish here in Watopia for stage 2 of the virtual Tour de France. Breathless stuff.
Whoa, what an exciting finale that was. Brilliant stuff from Loudon. Stevens, just look at the effort from Magnaldi there. She was the rider who opened up that sprint. Provisionally, to me, it looked like she came third, but she says finished. That really did take it out of her. But what an exciting finale that was.
That was amazing. Difficult to call that sprint. It was so tight at the end, but we'll get confirmation. But we do believe that Lauren Stevens, the American, 33 years of age, she knows how to win on Zwift. She only won a few weeks ago. She takes the win as we look at the warm down of Magnaldi. Superb effort for her to take third place on the day. Joss Loudon, another great ride by a team of drops there. Cecile Uttrup Ludwig in fourth place. And there we go. That is Lauren Stevens. She wears number one, and she is number one today on the roads of Watopia. I tell you what, Hannah, this racing is just getting better and better. It seems like we're lots of stages in, not only stage 2. What a fantastic advert for cycling, women's sport, and Zwift as a platform. Superb stuff.
It's great, isn't it? I'm loving it. And, you know, what a way to do the first ever women's Tour de France in the virtual world. It's so great. Brilliant racing so far, and it's been so close as well. Lots of different teams, from the World Tour teams to the women's continental teams, and a great variety of riders as well, and all in different countries as well, doing it from their homes. I'm loving the crowds here. Great support.
It is a lot of great support from the crowds here. Look at the power-ups that have been dropped. It looks like everybody had that aero boost, and there it was. Stevens was the first rider indeed to cross the line, but a very close finish indeed. Not much in it. You could just see the polka dot jersey cruising home there in second place. Great to see those iconic jerseys out on the roads here on Zwift. The maillot jaune, the maillot vert, the polka dot jersey, and of course the white jersey. The maillot jaune worn of course today by Ella Harris, who finished inside the top 10. There's a lot to unpick here. But I think, importantly, because there are points on offer for the first 25 riders, the first 25 riders are still going to be battling it out on the road. Okay, the field has exploded, but every single point counts. And there we go. Lauren Stevens has taken out stage 2 of the virtual Tour de France ahead of Great Britain's Joss Loudon. Erika Magnaldi from Italy is in third position. Cecile Uttrup Ludwig fourth. Faulkner in fifth. Rujakers, good position by her for Team CCC. 15 seconds adrift, just in front of Sarah Gigante in 8th place. So there we go. That is the scene. Watopia made to look like Nice. I had the pleasure of riding this particular circuit this morning at a far slower pace than these riders, I may add. But there's the hot air balloon, the Zeppelin just zipping across your screen. And I believe we've got another interview coming up very shortly. Hopefully that will be with our race winner, Lauren Stevens of Team Tipco Silicon Valley Bank. Well, that interview should be coming with us very shortly. But
Lauren, very many congratulations on an absolutely stunning win on the second stage of the virtual Tour de France for women. Summarise your feelings after what looked like a brutal stage.
Yeah, it was an exciting win today. I've been racing on Zwift for the past couple months, and to win a race this big was very exciting.
Talk about the climb then. That looked very difficult, and you were climbing with the top climbers in the world. I mean, you've got riders like Cecilia Uttrup Ludwig, who is, as we know, a renowned climber. How hard was it just to stay there in the wheels?
Oh, the epic climb was a hard climb in itself, and to be followed by the radio tower. I was actually gapped off into a group of 4 just off the back of the leaders until about 3K to go. So the climb was... I didn't quite have it, but we came back on the flats.
Yeah, you came back on the flats, and it looked to me like you used a power-up in the last few meters. Is that right?
Yes, I got the aero power-up at the last sprint line, and I engaged that power-up to use for the final.
So very well done on the tactics. Now, of course, the team is looking for the maillot jaune, the yellow jersey. You also had your teammate Kristen Faulkner in the group. Do you think the team can get the yellow jersey now?
Yeah, I think we'll be in the yellow. We had Sarah just behind also, so we had 3 in the top 10. So I think that should move us into the yellow for stage 3.
Well, very well done indeed, Lauren. Congratulations, the winner of stage 2 of the Virtual Tour de France. Enjoy the victory. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lauren
Great to
Stevens
hear.
then, the winner of
Great to hear.
stage 2 of the Virtual Tour de France. So you can see if you're